Live from KSAT 12. Good Morning San Antonio starts right now.
We begin with some late-breaking news this morning. Former San Antonio Mayor Julian Castro has ended his presidential campaign.
Castro made the announcement on Twitter just a few minutes ago, saying, quote, "I'm so proud of everything we've accomplished together. I'm going to keep fighting for an America where everyone counts. I hope you'll join me in that fight," end quote.
This all comes after he was unable to find footing in the polls, rarely getting more than 2% of overall support. He also failed to qualify for the December Democratic presidential debate.
This is a developing story. Make sure you stay connected with us with KSAT both on air and online for the latest.
And good morning to you. It is Thursday. It is January 2nd. Sarah's back with us this morning. Hi there. I'm hoping and glad that you're feeling better.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what it was. New year, my body's like, new you. We're gonna
right, and there is stuff going around right now, and then you factor in the mountain cedar too, and we're hoping for some good news there because the mountain cedar count around here has been brutal in the last day or so. Strange story out of Wake Forest, North Carolina.
I really like this story. So a family decides, oh, we're gonna stay at home for dinner. We're gonna pop in a pizza in the oven, but then things went just bad.
Snake and bake is what we're calling it. The Helms family cooked a snake hiding in their oven while they were preparing dinner. Oh, there's what's left of the snake. Okay, so nobody saw it, and they just popped the pizza right there on the rack. Okay.
It said the oven started smoking. I told my boys, back up so I can make sure nothing's getting on fire or anything could happen. I looked close and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a snake.
The family also said the smell was, as you might imagine, wonderful. No, it wasn't.
No.
They said nobody likes snakes and nobody likes them when you find them burning in your oven. Instead of eating the pizza, they said, we went out to eat. We did not eat pizza. I hear a lot of people asking that question. Did we eat pizza? No.
One of the wife said, I am sad the way the snake died. The oven hasn't been in use since the snake bake.
Robert Helms said, oh no, it's in double, triple cleaning mode. I put that on cycle last night. It's soaking now. The grow grates have even been pulled out. And they plan to bring in animal experts to find out where the snake came from and how it ended up in their oven in the first place. So there's shake and bake, and now there's snake and bake.
When they talked about the smell, I just can't even imagine.
I can't either. So yeah, definitely trash the pizza. Let's take a look at your GMSA rundown on this January 2nd.
End of a two-day siege at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Iranian-backed protesters have withdrawn from that U.S. compound.
The Pentagon is staying on top of the crisis, sending hundreds of additional troops to the Middle East overnight, just in case new violence breaks out.
Australia suffering through the worst wildfires the country has seen in decades.
At the moment, everybody's panicking, and yeah, it's pretty surreal.
More than a dozen deaths already confirmed nationwide.
Pope Francis was quick to issue a public apology for his flash of anger while greeting the faithful on New Year's Eve. Francis was grabbed by a woman who wouldn't let go, so he slapped her a few times.
The NBA community mourning the death of Commissioner David Stern, who passed away Wednesday. Stern had been involved with the NBA for nearly 20 years before becoming commissioner. The league says he died after suffering a brain hemorrhage. Deputies say a woman was killed in a New Year's celebration over in Houston. She was hit by a stray bullet. Investigators say the 61-year-old was hit in the neck. She was actually pronounced dead at the scene.
The Senate reconvenes next week, and there are major questions surrounding President Trump's impeachment trial, including whether witnesses will be called to testify. President Trump, who rang in the new year at Mar-a-Lago, says he's happy for a trial to take place.
The woman was driving when she slammed through 3 fences before hitting a shed last night. Police say that woman was being assaulted by a man in the passenger seat at the time. Officers say the fight caused the woman to veer off the road and crash.
January 2nd is considered National Returns Day. UPS is estimating that Americans will be returning nearly 2 million items today alone. That's a 26% jump over last year.
Little Penelope Novato was San Antonio's first baby of 2020. She was born just 25 seconds after the stroke of midnight at Methodist Hospital.
He had the finish line of a race in Brazil right there in sight, so close.
But the guy in second place never gave up, winning the race right at the line. When you strut, you stumble.
Last year I saw a bunch of videos where it was snippets of people thinking they had the race in the bag, not just runners, but a variety of different competitions. At the very last second got overtaken and somebody else wins.
No, you have to
push through to the end.
Push through.
We're going to push through with our forecast, too, as we round out the week and head into the first full weekend of 2020. Earlier today, Mike mentioned we might see some clearing later on. And Justin?
Yes, so we will see some clearing. It may take some time, though. We'll probably have to wait until this afternoon before that happens. Right now, still cloudy. We've still got a few light returns on the radar. And temperatures still on the chilly side, 54 degrees at the airport right now, 46 in Rock Springs, 44 right now in Del Rio. Dew point is at 50, calm winds, cloudy skies officially here in San Antonio right now. Let's take a look at the radar, and you can see some of those very light showers still off to the west of San Antonio, so that's still got to get through here before we're done with all of this. The rainfall has not been great. We have not picked up a whole lot. We'll talk about rainfall totals here in just a bit, but some more moderate rain down there around Victoria and Beeville at this hour, and still a few light sprinkles here around San Antonio. There's a clearing line. You can pick it up way out there towards Del Rio, so that will slowly work west to east today. You mentioned the pollen count earlier. It is good news. Mountain cedar's in the moderate category, down from where it has been. We had 10 straight days of it being in the high category, down some, and mold is also low. Forecast for today up around 62, 64 for a high. We'll see mostly cloudy skies again, some clearing late, and then a lot more sun coming up tomorrow and over the weekend. We'll have more on that here in just a few minutes. Guys?
Thank you, Justin. TransGuide right now, it's on a loop, and that's good news. We will move along.
Top stories we are following today. A family dispute at a Northwest Side apartment ends with 2 people in the hospital.
Police say a man suffered a gunshot wound to his shoulder. A woman was cut on the leg with a knife. Officers found both of them at the Latitude Apartments in the 6400 block of Wurzbach shortly after midnight. Police were able to find a suspect just a block or so away and arrested him.
Right now, it's unclear what charges the suspect is facing. The 2 victims were taken to the hospital, both in serious condition. In your morning headlines, a U.S. ambassador to Ukraine is stepping down, and a man sleeps through a carjacking and ends up in another state.
Wow. And what happens when you're 7 and you swallow a wireless AirPod? Good question. We say Happy New Year to David Sears.
Good morning.
Morning.
Great lesson for all parents out there.
We're listening.
Watch what you give those youngsters and then watch what they do with them.
Okay.
Have that for you just a second. Hey, you might recognize this man from the House Intelligence impeachment hearings. Ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor. He was one of the key witnesses in those hearings, and as of today, he is no longer the ambassador. He announced earlier this week that he was stepping down from that post. He made the announcement during a 2-minute video. He also stressed that the United States' support for Ukraine and his optimism for that country. He did not talk about the Trump impeachment hearings. He did announce that Deputy Chief Christina Kivian would take over for now. By the way, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was headed to Ukraine, but postponed that trip because of the situation in Baghdad. Now, this is one that's very bizarre and very scary at the same time. A guy was sleeping in his truck when he was carjacked. The carjacking happened in Missouri. The thief took off with the truck from a gas station. The carjacker headed for Oklahoma. He went 130 miles to Tulsa. All the while, the owner was sleeping. When the guy finally woke up, the thief kicked him out of the truck. The owner had his cell phone, so he called the OnStar security system. They were able to remotely slow his truck down to just 15 miles an hour to make it easier for police to catch him. The carjacker arrested, now in jail. Another quick story from the just because you have a driver's license, a fast car, and a cell phone category doesn't mean you're all that smart. This guy live streaming himself flying down a highway in Connecticut, and then he crashed. He was going 100 miles an hour in a 55. He lost control on a highway ramp and slammed into a guardrail. That crash is about to happen here. Here it comes just a second. We'll wait. Hurry up. He's doing 100 miles an hour, so it's not going to take him much longer to get there. But anyway, he was wearing a seatbelt, so that was the smart thing he did. The police actually posted it. There he goes. The police actually posted this video on their Facebook page. They wanted to show an example of speeding and live streaming and what can happen. Nothing good. And finally this morning, this is why those AirPods belong in your ears and not in your mouth, because you can swallow them like this 7-year-old in Georgia. There it is. He was headed to the emergency room. Doctors took x-rays and say the wireless AirPod was below his rib cage. Naturally, everybody, including the little guy, was kind of scared.
He was very nervous. He's like, well, he thought he was going to be in trouble. So, we just kind of assured him that it's okay.
All right, the doctors decided they would just let nature take its course and let the AirPod come out on its own, which should take a few days. The boy has decided to stay off his cell phone. He doesn't even want to get near it because he doesn't want to connect to his AirPod in his stomach because, you don't want to hear let it go or anything like that coming out of your stomach, do you?
No.
No. His mom said maybe it'll be a while before I buy him some of those electronic gadgets if he's going to put them in his mouth. But there's a lesson for all parents.
Or, like kids like to...
You're thinking of something I know.
I'm speechless.
Yeah.
They like to put things in their mouth and hold them and chew them around what's his name does with his mouth guard. I guess it's
What's his name?
The guy with the mouth guard. Steph Curry, thank you.
Yeah. He tends to chomp on that.
Yeah, so kids maybe do it thinking it's cool or I don't know.
I was thinking football, like all those guys in football wear mouth guards, but they all take them out, stick them in their helmets or whatever. But anyway, yeah. So you got to watch your kids because, they start chewing on that stuff. Next thing you know, you're playing music from your stomach.
Kids do the darndest things. Thank you, David. Right now, 9:08, 54 degrees, still ahead on GMSA at 9.
It's something that affects everyone. We all deal with stress at some point in our lives. We have tips to help you identify the symptoms and deal with them.
After being convicted and later granted clemency for killing one of her clients, a sex trafficking survivor is speaking out how she is hoping her story can help other people in similar situations.
An epic mom fail, hundreds of illegal fireworks, and a warning from authorities about traveling to one South Texas town. Erica Hernandez will join us after the break with the details.
Let's see how the market is doing on the first trading day of the year. The Dow is up, doing very well today, up 170 points at 28,709. Great start to 2020. Several stories trending online this morning, including a travel warning from a South Texas sheriff.
Erica Hernandez is joining us with more details about that story and others. Good morning, Erica.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, so we're going to start with this warning to avoid travel to Nuevo Laredo, which is just south of Laredo. Webb County Sheriff Martin Cuellar issued the warning yesterday evening. He posted on Facebook that, quote, intensive shootings between cartel members and Tamaulipas State Police had taken place for hours. He went on to say to please avoid the areas and do not cross over to Nuevo Laredo. He also posted photos of shattered windows and casings from high-caliber machine guns. Webb County Sheriff's deputies and the Laredo Police Department are monitoring areas near the border. Now, this has been a problem that has kind of ceased and then begun, and it's always back and forth there in Nuevo Laredo, and it seems to have increased again.
Okay, Erica, your next story. I mentioned it briefly this morning on the early show, but we haven't shown it.
Exactly it? Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing videos captured the moment of San Antonio ringing the new year. One view is from KSAT's live cameras, which caught the professional fireworks show at Hemisphere, and then there were shots around the city where fireworks were set off illegally. I mean, the entire city lit up.
If not thousands.
I mean, you can probably do a whole 360 if you're at the tower and just see them everywhere. It wasn't until nearly 30 minutes after midnight that the firework activity appeared to slow down. More than 1,000 reports were made to the fireworks hotline, according to the San Antonio Fire Department. It's unclear if any citations were given.
People in my neighborhood were still shooting them off last night.
Oh yeah, mine too. And it was just so loud. And I don't even live close to downtown, but just everywhere you could see.
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere.
And do you even have the manpower to issue that many citations? And how fast would you go through the citation book before you run out of citations?
Exactly. It's like everybody was just.
Does it.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing it. So,
it's not that we're encouraging it, but it is a really cool shot to see that entire skyline just totally
It almost looked CGI.
Yeah, exactly, like it was made. And finally, a funny story of how never to trust a parent with capturing a special moment. A New Mexico mom named Susan Grego was supposed to capture the moment her daughter was getting proposed to, but instead of capturing the proposal, Susan ended up with a selfie of her reaction.
Mom.
She didn't switch it over.
Oh, right.
So to be fair, it wasn't her phone. It was her daughter's phone she was using to capture her own smiling reactions. She joked, it was still a very memorable moment, even though I blew it.
You had one job.
One job, Mom. But look at her picture. Her reaction was great.
You can't be mad.
Yeah, her daughter was not mad. She's like, it's kind of hilarious that we laugh about it now.
Parents.
But I know.
But yeah.
I saw a picture recently of, it was probably my dad's age, and his phone, and he had a sticker pointing up so he would know which end was down, where the home button was, that kind of thing. But of course, a lot of phones now don't even have the home button.
No, yeah.
Or when you FaceTime with your mom and you're like, Mom, turn the screen around. Mom, she's like, what? How do I do that?
So there's a resolution. Get our parents and grandparents to be more tech savvy in 2020. Right.
How-to book.
They'll get there.
Yes, they will.
All those stories and more on KSAT.com.
Thank you, Erica.
Thanks, guys.
You know, it was funny, you mentioned the fireworks. National Weather Service actually put out a forecast for patchy smoke on New Year's Eve. Because,
are you serious?
Well, because in some cases, if there's what we call an inversion where the temperature changes with height, some of that smoke can get trapped. And it can lower visibility while you're driving. It can be somewhat dangerous. It's happened before, but pretty interesting. A lot of smoke.
And for just that particular time frame?
Just for that time frame, yeah. Interesting. But we've got some showers out there now, and we're seeing a few more starting to pop up on radar. So let's take a look and see what we're looking at here. You see some of that light rain that's working out to the north and east. We have not picked up much rain out of this. It has been very light. In fact, I just stepped outside. Some of this isn't even reaching the ground. But the possibility is there for a few more showers before it's all said and done. I think we got to wait till probably lunchtime before we get all of this activity through here. Our eastern counties, we're still going to see showers into the afternoon. A little closer look here at Bexar County, and you can see some of those light showers working their way through San Antonio, if it's even reaching the ground. Again, it's all been very, very light. And then out towards Goliad, we've seen some rain. Cuero, Victoria, up towards Howittsville, a few showers still falling there. Measured rainfall. Yeah, it's not much. We're talking maybe 1/100 of an inch here in San Antonio. Gonzales, 3/100 of an inch. Victoria, a little better. Aransas Pass, about 1/2 inch. You had to get down to the Texas coast before you found anything significant rainfall-wise, which is bad news. We're still very much in a drought here. This is the newest drought monitor. Just came out this morning. Basically, it's unchanged here. 36% of the state is in drought. 1 week ago it was 39%, so there's a bit of an improvement, but that's statewide. I think here in South Texas, it basically stays the same. Bottom line is we need some more rain. There's not a lot in the forecast either. Here's a look at the time lapse, and you can see the clouds continue to roll through. 54 degrees at the airport right now. Dew point is at 50. Calm winds. Visibility is just fine. Of course, the big question, too, is when will we lose this cloud cover? The back edge of the clouds is out here around Rock Springs Junction in Del Rio. It's not moving that much, but we will see a progression west to east today. Again, probably not until afternoon will we see any peaks of sun, and it's not going to be until tonight, really, that we clear out completely. But once it does, that'll help temperatures a little bit tomorrow, even though we've got a front coming through. 48 degrees right now in Rock Springs, 49 in Junction, where they're seeing more of the clear skies, but 50s elsewhere. And here around Bexar County and San Antonio, 54 degrees, again, cloudy at the airport, 53 over there at Port SA. Here's what the big picture looks like. We've got showers working through East Texas, a large portion of the southeastern part of the country. There's still a little bit of energy hanging behind here. This is the upper level low, so that's got to work through too before we get all of this out of South Texas. So here's what the futurecast looks like. By 4 o'clock, it does show that clearing line starting to come through. Here comes the front early tomorrow morning. That just brings gusty winds with it. We're not getting any rain out of this front, and so it turns breezy tomorrow. I'm worried about the mountain cedar count tomorrow. We're going to have to keep a close eye on that and into Saturday with these northerly winds picking up. Forecast for today, 64 degrees, some clearing late. And tomorrow we'll go 62, gusts to 20 to 25 out of the north with that front. 68 Saturday, 71 Sunday. We'll get another front Monday into Tuesday, but there's just no moisture to work with. So it's a dry one, and so temperatures stay right there in the 60s and 70s.
So the key here is to have a battle plan. Don't forget, if you can handle an antihistamine, a steroidal nasal spray. Some people use those neti pots to do the saline rinse and everything.
I just do Benadryl and I sleep like a baby.
Well, that helps too.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Justin, thank you very much. 9:19, 54 degrees.
Still ahead on GMSA at 9. No matter where it comes from, everyone deals with stress. Tips to help you deal with it, that's next. Welcome back. It's 9:22. It's something that affects everyone, whether it's age, gender, socioeconomic status. We all feel stress.
David Sears helps you identify symptoms and, more importantly, how to deal with stress.
Stress is your body's reaction to a trigger or experience, but you don't have to let it ruin your day or your life. The National Institute of Mental Health has 5 things you should know about stress. It affects everyone. There are different types, and they can all affect your physical and mental health. Stress can come from something routine like school or work, perhaps a sudden negative change. It can also present itself as traumatic stress from a horrific event. In some cases, stress can trigger our fight or flight instincts. In other instances, it can motivate you when completing an important task. Chronic stress can be debilitating. When your body is in a constant state of stress, sometimes it can be challenging to reach normal levels. Eventually, chronic stress can contribute to problems like heart disease, high blood pressure, and mental health disorders. Some tips on dealing with stress: Be observant of your body's response. Talk to a healthcare provider. Get regular exercise. Partake in a relaxing activity. Write down your goals and priorities. Stay connected to others. You don't have to tough it out. Stress, especially prolonged stress, can lead to serious mental health conditions, suicidal thoughts, or substance abuse. Find a professional who can guide you through and help relieve some of those symptoms. David Sears, KSAT 12 News.
Well, there's still a lot more ahead on GMSA at 9.
Imagine going fishing and catching none other than a great white shark. Happened to a group of fishermen off Florida. We'll tell you how much that shark weighed.
Insects are usually the stuff of nightmares, but a British company is hoping to change that. Why they say eating bugs could become a global necessity.
She's a sex trafficking survivor who made headlines around the world after being sentenced to prison for killing one of her clients. After the break, how Centoya Brown is now hoping to help others in a similar predicament.
Taking a look outside at TransGuide, that is I-35 at New Braunfels. Things look pretty smooth there. No accidents, not a lot of traffic. 37 at Jones Avenue, same. And I-37 at 410, very light traffic. Everyone stay safe out there.
Hey guys, meteorologist Katie Blake here. Did you know with the KSAT weather app, you don't just get updates and forecast information for here in South Texas, you can use it to get a forecast for anywhere in the world. Just open the app, click on locations, and search for the destination you want. Then you can add it right to your favorites list. You can even be notified if there's crazy weather in the area. So use it next time you travel. Let's see. Ooh, Honolulu, Hawaii. Next week, mid-80s. That's very nice. Or you can use it just to check in on what's going on with the weather where your friends and family live, like Grammy in Montana. It's cold, snowy Grammy. Bundle up. Download or update the KSAT weather app today.
Just about 9:30, a teenage girl forced into sex trafficking. She then killed a client and was sent to prison.
Her story resonated with people all over the world, and after 15 years behind bars, she was granted clemency. Now CNN's Linda Kincaid sits down with Centoya Brown to hear her story.
After 15 years behind bars, you're free.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I mean, it's good. You know, it's a blessing. It's literally a miracle.
Centoya Brown Long has spent half her life behind bars. At just 16, she was forced by her abusive boyfriend into sex work. One night, she shot and killed a 43-year-old man who had bought her for sex. She claimed it was self-defense, but prosecutors argued it was opportunistic after she fled with his wallet and 2 guns. She was tried as an adult and sentenced to life in prison for murder and robbery.
You would have been close to 70 by the time you got any chance of release. How do you deal with that at the age of 16?
So in the state of Tennessee, I had an opportunity for parole, but it wasn't a meaningful opportunity. It was after 51 years I could be considered for release. And as I said, the prospect of that was just, I mean, it was unbearable. I couldn't imagine.
From activists to lawmakers to celebrities, people of all walks of life called for justice.
Before all of the outcry had happened, my attorneys had already been meeting with the governor's office and trying to talk about clemency, which clemency, less than 1% of applications are even reviewed by the parole board in the state of Tennessee. So to say it was slim to none chance of me ever receiving any kind of relief through clemency, I mean, that's an understatement.
Singer Rihanna posted about her on Instagram, asking, did we somehow change the definition of justice along the way?
Did you understand how much support there was for you on the outside?
You know, for me, the biggest thing was seeing how many people across the world, seeing teachers, doctors, you know, single parents saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know how I can help, but I want to do something.
In the United States, all underage sex workers are defined by federal law as trafficking victims. And now she's helping others understand that.
And, you know, so often we're told that there are just certain young girls who are fast, certain young girls who are promiscuous that ask for these things. And it's important for young girls to know that you cannot consent to your own exploitation. If you can't consent to a sexual relationship with an adult, then you can't consent to them taking advantage of you.
There was another victim here, Johnny Allen, and his family feel like they're victims too. They lost someone. What's your message to them, given that they feel the justice system didn't work for them?
I feel horrible about what happened. I feel horrible that they're still having to live with this.
In a statement, they said, "Our hearts are broken because we feel like Johnny never got to defend himself. We never got to be a voice for him." Centoya Brown Long is not entirely free. The newly married 31-year-old will still have to report to a parole officer for the next decade, on top of holding down a job, performing community service, and undergoing counselling.
You know, from the time that they told me I'd do life in prison, I never believed it. I always thought that one day that I would be free, and I held on to that. So
you kept the faith.
I did.
Linda Kincaid, CNN, Atlanta.
Let's go outside with live cam on your Thursday, January 2nd. Well, the sun's trying, Justin Horn.
It's trying.
Is that clouds or fog?
Just some clouds, maybe a little bit of low visibility there here in San Antonio, but we haven't had a whole lot of issues with fog this morning, thankfully. Just some light rain out there. Temperatures sitting in the 50s right now, 54 degrees here in town, and we've got temperatures 53 Boulevardy, 51 Comfort. A lot of cloud cover, so the clouds are going to dictate the temperatures today, how warm they get. I'm thinking low to mid 60s just because these clouds are probably going to hang on at least into the early afternoon. You see some of the light returns here with some showers, especially east of San Antonio, but even here around town, a few sprinkles still possible. A little closer look there at Beeville and Victoria, seeing some moderate rain working through there. The clearing line is still back out towards Del Rio and Rock Springs. We've got some time before this works its way east. So the forecast calls for a high right around 64 degrees today. We'll keep it mostly cloudy with some clearing tonight and more sun tomorrow, but some gusty winds too. We're going to talk about that in your weekend forecast here in just a few minutes, guys.
Checking the roads with TransGuide 281 at 410. No problems to report there.
And 35 at Bing's Engelman, same.
We were out there for probably a good 3 hours with not much activity, so we were just kind of lounging around, enjoying the sun, and then all of a sudden, pretty much the entire boat just started yanking down, so we knew we hooked a big one.
So check this out. What started as a slow day on the water picked up in a hurry for a group of fishermen in Florida. They caught a 13-foot great white shark.
It weighed over 1,000 pounds. The fishermen got the shark just close enough to the boat to shoot this video and take pictures, and then they released that great white, 13 feet. That's a relatively small great white shark compared to some of the others out there.
Yeah, it's no Jaws.
No, not at all. Beautiful fish. Mm-hmm. Still terrifying. Yes, Oriana, it is. A host of new rules and laws took effect yesterday, first day of the year. The FDA has some new guidelines out to help us with those nutrition labels that could be a little confusing on products that we're, at the grocery store.
And the numbers this can be terrifying because it shows the full container. So if you're going to sit down with a pint of ice cream or a full bag of chips, now that's going to affect that they have to show you how much you're actually eating when you binge the whole thing.
So the new guidelines are, the labels are now required to show the side-by-side columns, one with the nutritional information for single serving, which we're used to seeing, and a second with the information for eating the entire package. Interesting though, manufacturers that make less than $10 million a year in food sales get to wait till 2021 to comply with these new food label rules.
The FDA said, we know that Americans are eating differently and the amount of calories and nutrients on the label is required to reflect what people are actually eating and drinking.
So serving sizes are based on Americans' eating habits determined by the amount people say they consumed in federal food surveys over the past few decades.
With foods that can reasonably be consumed in one sitting, like a pint of ice cream, the serving size is not what you think it is. It is really good change because so many times they have talked with consumers who have been deceived by it.
That's from a professor up at University of Alabama, Birmingham in the Nutrition Sciences Department. They also pointed to the fact that manufacturers are now required to disclose added sugars on the labels as well. So as we said, an important step forward in the country's nutritional health.
I think the biggest thing is not grabbing that pint of ice cream. It's so tempting and easy. Get a scooper, put it to 1 scoop, 2 scoops in the bowl, and then put it away.
Portion control.
Yes.
Good deal. There's 9:37, 54 degrees.
You're watching GMSA at 9. And would you be willing to eat bugs? After the break, how a British restaurant is hoping that instead of quivering at the thought of insects, people will actually want to eat them. Welcome back. Insects are usually the stuff of nightmares. They're creepy and they're crawly. And what a company in the UK is hoping that instead of quivering at the thought, people will actually want to eat them instead.
Monkfield has been growing crickets, locusts, and others to sell as pet feed, and now they're expanding, becoming the first in the United Kingdom to produce insects for human consumption on an industrial scale.
But would people in the US and Europe be able to get over the yuck factor and give them a try? CNN's Vasco Catovio has more.
For many, it's the stuff of nightmares, but keep an open mind. This could be your dinner tonight.
In this bin, we'll have about 6,000 crickets.
Joe Wise is the managing director at Monkfield. They've been growing these as live pet feed for years. Now they're expanding, becoming the first in Britain to produce insects for human consumption at an industrial scale.
You're getting at least a kilo plus of protein from that bin.
The average steak has 25 grams of protein. That's more than 40 steaks in each of these bins. So Joe's hoping that people will look at the nutritional value instead of looking away. But there are other pluses. Emissions-wise, they're as eco-friendly as it gets. They take up very little space and they grow really, really fast. They're ready for harvest 4 weeks after they hatch. They're then frozen, washed thoroughly, put in a microwave, heated to boiling temperatures, killing any bacteria, and they're good to go. But still, hard to say they're mouth-watering.
This is never going to look as appetizing as, say, a steak. But what we need now is some really good chefs and food scientists to get behind the product, make some really tasty dishes.
That's exactly what Chef Marta Ortiz is trying to do. She's been slowly introducing insect dishes into the menu at Ella Canta, her upmarket Mexican restaurant in London. Like the guacamole nacionalista, decorated with a golden grasshopper.
Even the cracking, you know, it's something so wonderful.
And what do her customers think?
They love it. They ask for more. You know, they want more. They want to try it. They say, this is magnificent, this is delicious. But try one. You will get in love with them, I'm sure.
This is a bit scary.
No.
I'm not sure I love them just yet. A good chef can make anything taste delicious, but the big question is, with these on sale here in the UK, are people in the West ready to eat them?
Never had it before. Don't intend to have it now. Probably never will have it.
So some people say crickets, like these are the food of the future.
Are they? That's lovely, but no thank you.
Oh my god, it looks like a cricket as well.
It's just like crisps, to be honest.
Just like crisps?
Not bad.
Not bad?
Yeah. Tastes better than it looks, that's for sure.
For now, insects might just be for the most daring, but finite resources and a growing population might make eating these a global necessity rather than a choice. Vasco Catovio, CNN, Ely.
The eyes of the cricket staring at you out of the guacamole.
Oh, yeah, that. And I just found a cricket 3-pack on Amazon. So this is a gift pack of dried crickets, and you can get flavors. So this is sour cream and onion, bacon and cheese, and salt and vinegar. The pack of 3 is $9.45. The question is, does it have the nutrition labels? That's the question. Of course, you could probably eat all these in one sitting, right?
I mean, you put sour cream and onion on anything, it'll taste good, right? I mean,
for most folks, yeah, I agree.
Crickets, they get in your teeth.
The funny thing is, as we're watching that story, you should have seen the looks on everybody's faces. Everybody's like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the appetizing factor or lack thereof.
I don't want crickets in my guacamole.
No?
No.
Okay.
What if you order guacamole and accidentally has a bug in it?
That's what I was.
Order that?
What I was thinking, with, like when they stuck that little cricket in the guacamole, I'm like, but did I order this?
You're paying for that.
Oh, you're going to eat it.
Wow. How are we looking, sir?
Well, we're getting some good news in the mountain cedar category. It's down a little bit today. It's in a moderate category, 420. That's what we want to see, but here's my concern. Northerly winds pick up tomorrow, so that typically means mountain cedar numbers jump up. I would say on your Friday, we're going to see those numbers rise a little bit more. Northwesterly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour, and typically those numbers linger over, so that could hold over onto Saturday, even though we see a little bit of a switch around with the winds. We're hoping for the best, but just warning you there, mountain cedar may get a little bit worse tomorrow. Doppler radar shows we've still got some showers out there. Looks like the radar is trying to fill in a little bit. This is all very, very light. It has not amounted to much in the way of rainfall, but we're still seeing some wet roads out there. We're still going to see some sprinkles as this works west to east, and still the more moderate rain stays off to our east. Gonzales down to Cuero, Victoria, Howitzville. That's where most of the more moderate rain is right now. Doppler radar shows those showers working through San Antonio, although not all of this is really reaching the ground. Still dry layer of air there that's preventing us from getting the really good rain. And you see the Doppler radar shows some of the more moderate cells here working through Cuero, Victoria up towards Howitzville. Measured rainfall I mentioned wasn't great. Here in San Antonio, maybe 100th of an inch, maybe 200ths of an inch. That was the case in New Braunfels. You had to get down to the coast before you found anything really good here. Aransas Pass, about ½ an inch. Still not great. Still not helping us with the drought situation. And as we look live outside, this is sort of an interesting shot here. It's almost as if you can see some of that precipitation trying to fall, and some of it's evaporating there before it reaches the ground. 54 degrees, dew point is at 50, calm winds. And as we look at the satellite picture here, there's the clearing line out west, so Rock Springs Junction, Del Rio. And it looks like the clouds are actually building back west a little bit, so it's going to take quite a bit of time before this clearing line makes it across our area and makes it to San Antonio in general. It may be late afternoon, but the temperatures show that underneath the clouds we're in the 50s. Where the skies are a little more clear, temperatures dropped off this morning, 44 there in Del Rio, 54 at the airport, 52 right now in Castroville with cloudy skies there. Here's the big picture. A lot of rain for the southeastern portion of the country. Big area of low pressure still has to work through, so there's still a little bit of lingering snow showers out across New Mexico and West Texas. Once this energy moves through, we clear out for the weekend, and we'll get some great weather. So by 4 o'clock today, this model shows a clearing line making it to San Antonio. Certainly possible, but we'll get our front tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning. That picks up the winds, as we talked about. Breezy tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny, but winds will be out of the northwest. Probably 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusting a little bit higher than that. 64 degrees today, some clearing late. Southwesterly winds 5 to 10, but northwesterly winds tomorrow. 62, 68 on Saturday, and then 71 Sunday. So the weekend looks fantastic. We'll get a few more clouds on Monday. Cold front comes through Monday night into Tuesday. This one is going to be a dry front, though. No rain with it. Just cools us down a little bit for Tuesday.
Thank you, Justin. Right now, it's 9:48. We're at 54 degrees.
And Tesla is under investigation for a deadly crash, and the number of plane crash-related deaths was down in 2019. These and more tech and business headlines from our friends at Cheddar. That's next.
It's been a healthy day on Wall Street already, up about 108 points. We're talking about the Dow Jones Industrial Average sitting at 28,647.
Hello everyone, this is your daily tech and business briefing from Cheddar. Former Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn allegedly met with Lebanon's president after fleeing trial in Japan. This all according to Reuters. The fugitive was reportedly met with a warm welcome from the Lebanese president, indicating support from the leader. But the meeting has not been confirmed yet to the public, and the media advisor to the Lebanese president is denying the alleged meeting. Meanwhile, Tesla is being investigated by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration following a deadly crash on Sunday involving the Model S vehicle. The crash killed 2 and injured 2 others when the vehicle reportedly ran a red light, crashing into a Honda Civic. The crash occurred in the California suburb of Gardena. Neither Tesla or the NHTSA has responded for comment. And the number of air crash deaths globally has fallen by more than half in 2019. This according to a report by an aviation consulting firm. The consultancy said that 257 people died in 8 fatal crashes in 2019 versus the 534 reported deaths in 2018. Of course, the worst crash of the past year occurred in the Ethiopia flight when Boeing had killed 157 passengers on their 737 MAX jet. And that's your Chatter Business and Tech Update. I'm Baker Machado from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Many people are still off. Not everybody, but we've got traffic out there. 410 at Northwest Military, that cloud bank off in the distance. We've had these vehicles out there pretty much all hour. Don't know what's going on there, but one's kind of sitting just off the shoulder and the other one's just in the grassy area. 35 at Pine looking great. We've got heavy traffic in one direction.
And the roads look pretty dry there. We probably do have a few wet roads out there. The Doppler radar looks maybe a little bit worse than it is. A lot of this, or some of it's not reaching the ground, but still some light showers here around San Antonio, and still some showers going on a little bit closer to the coast. We got to get this through here. So it's going to be probably late afternoon before we see some clearing. But the sun will be out tomorrow, breezy. Temperatures today in the 60s, a little bit cooler tomorrow.
You gotta get a picture of y'all.
No, I don't.
We like the Spurs.
Like that, getting ready. Getting ready for Spurs tonight, OKC. Okay, so here's how the Spurs start January.
Okay.
After a interesting beginning of the season. Remember, they lost the 8 straight. Well, so they go into January on a 2-game winning streak. They've won 3 out of the last 4 and 6 out of their last 10. They were in the 8th playoff spot in the West. They are 1.5 games above Portland. 3.5 behind OKC, who they play tonight, so they can make up some ground on OKC. Here's a problem for the Spurs. They get into January, 15 games. That's almost every other day in January they play a game, and 8 of those are on the road.
And some pretty good teams,
so
too.
They need to win tonight at home, because then they go to Milwaukee. Then Milwaukee comes here. That's one of those weird back-to-back deals. And they've got like Boston and Toronto on the road. So they've got a tough stretch in January. So they need to win tonight. Tip off 7:30.
And it sounds like the Thunder have found some footing as the season has gone on.
Yeah, Chris Paul's leading them on there, and Adams, Mr. Beard, and that guy. He's been tough. So, and Roberson, kid from San Antonio. So.
Real quick, predictions for the Spurs in the stretch run here.
Well, I mean, they got some tough games. If they can play like they have, they're starting to get a little bit better and play a little bit more consistent. If they can keep going, I think they're going to stay in that 8th spot, maybe get up to the 7th spot. The 6th spot is going to be tough because that's Dallas and Houston, and those guys are up there, and they've already got, they're like 4 or 5 games above 500. So the Spurs got to get to 500 even. But I think they'll be all right.
They're doing good in overtime games. We know that much.
They're 4-1 in overtime games.
Yeah.
They keep doing those things. Like, what's that? And by the way, Jason Garrett's supposed to meet with Jerry Jones again today.
Wait, he hasn't been fired yet?
Third meeting?
It's like the third
I saw
time.
so many fake news stories that said he's been fired. I was like, but is he?
There was that one that went around last week saying that everybody's been fired.
You know what that tells you? Jerry's having a hard time getting rid of this guy.
Yeah.
That's what that tells you.
Might stay on with staff in some capacity, right?
Last look at weather?
Yeah, 64 degrees today and a little cooler tomorrow.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, everybody.
Go Spurs, go.
Go Spurs, go. Please.